Hello and welcome to Have At Us Reviews for Your Pleasure, Episode 4, Life in Pawnee, Part 1. I'm Joshua.
I'm Nietzsche. Before we get into it, this is a spoilers podcast. You can hear all kinds of spoilers through seasons 1 through 4.
There will be no spoilers, actually. I don't know what a spoiler is. There's nothing to spoil.
I mean, there's more story than Code Geass, so there is things to spoil.
Well, that's a hateful and hurtful statement. I can't believe you would say that to me.
You should feel like that was hurtful. Yeah. Anyway, what'd you think about this in general?
Really love this show. I'm a big fan. I generally include it on my top 3 shows of all time, along with The Office and It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. So it's up there in good company.
Good company. Yeah.
Good company.
I don't know about that. I mean, it is probably the best sitcom I have seen, but I haven't actually watched this much of any sitcom in my life. But it does do better than all the other snippets that I have seen of everything else. And I feel like I have seen snippets or full episodes of basically everything else that's important. I was just thinking this was going to be different than what I got.
What were you expecting?
I didn't expect it to actually be like a continual story game happening in this show. I thought we were just doing, sitcom status, here's your thing, here's your episode about nonsense, moving on. And you get some of those, but then you get a lot of here's the story, we're going along. All of season 4 is just her campaign, Leslie's campaign over there.
Yeah, it's the major driving force of that season.
And I was a little surprised.
Is that a positive or a negative surprise?
It's both. It works sometimes, but then when it doesn't work, you're just like, oh my gosh, we're still on this? We're still with this stupid story. I don't want to deal with this stupid story. Tom being Entertainment 720 for so long? Oh, that's a bad long section. Where I was just like, I don't care. We know this is ending. Oh my gosh.
Entertainment 720. A wonderful name.
It's stupid. It didn't make sense. It never made sense. He didn't know why it made sense. He just said it.
Yeah, he even admits, I don't know what it means.
Well, yeah, John Ralphio asked him, he's like, oh, what's that? And he's like, well, I don't know. And he's like, oh, yeah, golden or whatever, some stupid slang term that nobody understood because it's John Ralphio who doesn't know how to speak English correctly.
So John Ralphio understands many things. He knows how to make money.
Illegally.
By illegal means. But that's fine. He's the life of every party he goes to.
He's at every party. And everybody knows he's there because he's hit on every woman in 4 seconds.
I mean, he does have talents. I think he's a popular character because of just how outrageous he truly is. That's what I like about him. He's just nonstop ridiculous.
I mean, the outrageousness only endears me to the acting. It doesn't endear me to him. That's good acting unless that person normally talks that way. I don't know who that actually is because he's not cool enough to get his own little spot in the credit.
Yeah, I mean, he's not in every episode.
I was not a fan of John Ralphio at all. I just dreaded every moment he came on screen.
You would see him and you're like, ah.
I'd just be like, oh, I don't want to. No, don't. You're going to open your mouth. You already did. Great.
No stopping him. When I see him on screen, I think, yes, this was the shot in the arm we needed for this scene.
The shot in the arm. Yep. What does that even mean?
Hey, shots can be good or bad.
Yeah, what does that mean? I don't understand what shot in the arm means.
It means
it's like a vaccine.
It could be a vaccine.
It could be a vaccine.
It could also be heroin.
It could also be heroin.
Perhaps. You never really know what John Ralphio is going to bring to the table. You don't know what you're putting in your body, but you're going to find out.
Yeah, I'd rather not find out experimentally. I just said no to the John Ralphio shot. That's what I said every time. So I don't know what kind of trips you went on those episodes, but I'm concerned now. I am real concerned.
I am also concerned. I see things these days.
But yeah, he makes Tom seem better, sadly, because Tom sucks. Tom is a terrible, awful character. There is no likable qualities about him. He says the stupidest things, and I don't get what there is to endear me to him, ever.
I go back and forth with Tom. A lot of it just depending on the episode. Sometimes I think his antics are pretty funny, like when they're camping and he's like, Sky Mall. And he has this tent just full of commodities, television and ice cream machines and whatever else, like a massage chair. And I think that's hilarious. I think that's really funny. And then other times I'm just like, you're kind of a selfish individual, aren't you, buddy?
He's just selfish. None of his storylines matter to me. I don't care. I don't care about him and Wendy. I don't care about him and Lucy. I don't care about him and Anne. Like, I didn't. I kind of cared about him and Anne because he's so pathetic that it's so annoying. It's just so annoying. I was just like, I hate you. I'm actively rooting against you. And I feel like I'm going to lose this out. I feel like he's going to end up with Anne in some real fashion, and I'm going to be disappointed. Be real disappointed.
Okay. So I suppose we should make it clear. This is my 10th time watching most of these episodes. I've seen this show a lot. I've rewatched a lot of this show. I haven't this might be the first time I've rewatched season 1, actually. But season 2 and onward, I've seen all of multiple times.
Season 1 was not very good. Season 1 was just so incredibly not good. Like, I was just like, and people decided this was good enough to keep watching. Because there's like some like that was kind of funny moments in season 1, but for the most part, it's not good.
Yeah, I don't think it's funny very often. I think they saw the potential in the show. They could rework it and make it work. And they did so. Season 1 definitely feels very different. I want to say it was originally supposed to be like an official spin-off of The Office, and then it was turned into its own thing. And by doing so, I think it probably carried over that DNA in the first season, especially like Leslie being significantly different in season 1. And it's a pretty startling change sometimes after season 1. Like oh, okay, we've found some footing for these characters. Like Donna in season 1 is like all dressed up professionally, and like maybe she says a line in that season. I don't remember. I don't know if she did. And then season 2 she comes in and you're like, oh, okay, that wasn't you. That was you pretending to be somebody else, I guess.
I mean, she was just kind of hanging out in the background. Yeah, I don't think she says anything in season 1. And I'd seen snippets, and so I was really off put because I knew she was like a real character. And then I was like, I don't know what's happening. This is weird. But Leslie's just a moron. Just so unbelievably stupid in season 1. And she's still pretty stupid in season 2, but it's better. And in season 3, though, we figured it out. Finally. Finally.
She grew up. I really attribute that to just being the first season of a new show. It's a common problem among comedic shows and probably serious dramatic shows too, but I watch more comedy than anything. Like Seinfeld season 1, pretty oddly different. The Office season 1, it's a lot darker than the rest of the show, which is really saying something because that show can be reasonably dark. But season 1 definitely has a different feel to it. I'd say Always Sunny, but Always Sunny is also is pretty consistently what it is, so.
Garbage. Offensive garbage is what it is.
No, it's great.
I mean, it can be offensive like gold bars if you want.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
More accurate.
I haven't actually seen it, so I don't really know. I've just seen snippets in like an episode. I think I've seen the same episode twice because of you. Stupid boat episode.
That's a good episode.
But anyway, not about Always Sunny. Season 2, I think it's figured itself out, but then it does the weird thing where Mark is there, and Mark is really inconsistent, like in terms of acting and like how he's written, like just super inconsistent all the time. And then he's just gone.
He is gone.
We've never said anything about him up to this point. Nothing.
Yeah,
we just act like his existence was not there ever.
Yeah, he will never be brought up again in the show.
I just don't know what happened. I feel like something behind the scenes happened.
I don't think they ever said explicitly what happened, but I think it was stuff like personal differences, the same kind of nonsense they tell people. We know something happened behind scenes. He's not on the show anymore. And I don't think it's like a big loss. He's not a very good character, and I mean, he is relevant in the first 2 seasons, but I don't think he was interesting. He's very rarely funny. He kind of has an ego for himself. I think he thinks he's a little bit better than everybody, I think, in a way. And yeah, I don't know. I don't really like him, but, you know, he's not there, so it's all good. You don't have to deal with him for too long.
I mean, you haven't dealt with him for too long, but I just thought it was really weird that he's just gone. That's it.
Yeah.
Done. Cut. No mention.
Yep.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Like, he might as well have never existed.
It oftentimes feels like he never did. In fact, it always feels like that. Because he might as well not exist.
Wow. That's mean. He served comedic purposes. In terms of other people made fun of him. And that was sometimes funny. But other than that...
I think the only scene I liked with him was when he helps Ron out with Ron's workshop.
Now, I was like, that's fine of you to be a good person, but you're never a good person. I don't know why you're randomly a good person here. Like, it was just so incredibly inconsistent was my problem.
Well, fair. But it's the only scene that I can be like, yeah, I kind of like that scene. But it's one scene, so...
That's because you're a people pleaser, and you're like, yeah, Mark was over there pleasing the people, being a good person. I wish I was Mark. That's what you thought. I know.
Yeah, I definitely wish to be Mark. Forgotten. So, if we can accomplish that, great. But, yeah, Mark, forgettable character, and then he's gone, replaced by 2 other characters.
Yeah, I don't know if he's, like, replaced by anyone. He's just gone, and we introduced 2 new people.
Yeah.
I don't know if, like, either one was meant to replace them, but Chris would be the option to actually replace him, because the similarity is there. They both dated Anne. Chris is really, really unlikable. Just so incredibly awful. I feel like he is generally as bad as Tom.
As bad as Tom.
But just for very different reasons. Like, Tom's just a moron and a crybaby, and I never want to deal with any of his nonsense.
Yeah.
Like, you selfishly did not consider the fact that you destroyed someone's battery because you needed to live in comfort in the middle of the wilderness. Okay, buddy. But Chris is just so happy all the time. I hate it. There's the scene where he gets broken up with Millicent, and before that, April was like, man, I just want to see his happiness go away. That was one of the best scenes. And then she recants it, which made me dislike her. But I was like, yeah, his happiness does need to go away. And then it goes away, and he's the same awful, obnoxious person. Which I feel like, to the credit, Rob Lowe's a good actor for that. But man, he's too good because it's awful.
Yeah, I think Rob Lowe does a really good job in those shoes. He's very believable, and he does like things. He likes one word in particular.
Literally.
His favorite word.
That is literally awful.
I don't have anything really against him. I think he can be funny. I think he creates a good backdrop for other characters to interact with, but I don't really need him to be the focus of any storyline. I don't think he carries anything by himself. His reactions are too predictably positive. It's always positive.
Mm-hmm.
And the only real negativity is when he's hurt that he got broken up with for a couple episodes.
He's not even really, like, hurt, though, like, in his character mannerisms. It's still very happy sounding. Like, I mean, his words are like, man, I'm not happy. I feel like there's a dark hole in my soul. Blah, 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 blah. I mean, he says it like the most happy thing on the planet. With his road bike over there. And always in the background of his office.
It's important to have that nearby. You never know when you're going to need one.
It could be a racing bike. I don't actually know that I could see the difference in scene.
I don't pay attention. And I wouldn't know either way. So, there's a bike. He rides it.
Once. On screen.
Chris Traeger. I'm okay with his character. He's not my favorite, but I don't really have anything against him. I'm pretty neutral about him.
I mean, the only scene where I feel like he's not super happy is when he's with Ron doing meditation. And he, like, talks to Ron, and he's like, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that, you had some flexibility.
I do like that. Ron just stands there.
I'll stand. That's an interesting pose. You would find the only positive thing you could say about that.
Well, that's what he claims, right? That he can turn anything into a positive.
Well, the spin room stuff with him was good. I was like, man, if there was ever a thing that you needed to be here for, is the spin room. Because you could just say it in the happiest terms possible, and I feel like people are just going to believe that. They're like, yeah, that was a good thing.
Yeah, I do like that. That's a very funny scene, I think. And it fits really well. So, but the other person that was with him was, of course, Ben Wyatt.
Aw, good old Ben.
Now, Ben I'm quite fond of. He's probably one of my favorites.
Really?
Yeah, I actually like Ben a lot. I really love the way he just looks at the camera and questions what's going on. Because he does it a lot, especially when it comes to little Sebastian.
Oh, little Sebastian's stupid.
He just looks over at the camera like, what is happening? I don't understand. And through that, I think he's almost like the audience surrogate, in that he's the one who questions a lot of everyday life in Pawnee and finds a lot of it odd. And through that, you can kind of connect. And I think that's a lot of his purpose. He's also a romantic interest for Leslie. And I generally think he's a pretty good character. I like him a lot.
I liked him in his introduction. He was good. He was fine. Makes a lot of sense. And then him and Leslie actually get to be together, and he just falters. He just dies out. He's not as good. He's not as funny. And he's not as relatable. He's just kind of over there, head over heels for Leslie, doing his thing, and he replaces Dave, and Dave was great. Dave and Leslie. That's my ship. Dying on that ship. I'm going to tell you, that is the best couple. It's the only good couple.
Dave and Leslie.
Dave and Leslie. I really liked it.
That's funny.
They were just so funny together all the time.
That's really funny.
And he was really nice to her, like, especially, like, when she shows up at his house drunk, and then the next day he, like, walks in, and he's like, hey, no, I'm ready for our second date. Like, easing her attention over the whole thing, and, like, it was a whole good, sweet moment. So nice.
Not to say that he's not a good guy. Well, when he comes back, I think it's a little weird.
I didn't need him to come back and be just a jerk for no reason.
I always thought that was a really unnecessary move. But as a character, I didn't have anything against him, but I don't generally think he was that funny. And I don't think he could have stayed in the show for 7 seasons. 7 seasons?
7.
But I don't think he could have stayed in the show. Honestly, I forget about him. I'm like, oh yeah, this guy.
No, I like Dave. Dave was so good.
That's funny. I don't know if I've ever seen somebody talk positively about it.
It's the mannerism of it all. It's just a very slow, weird dialect thing going on. And he just stumbles over himself all the time. It's so awkward and so funny.
Do you recognize the actor?
No.
What's his name? C.K. Lewis? He's a comedian who got in some hot water, I don't know, what, 5-10 years, a while ago. He's a pretty famous comedian.
Oh, no.
I always want to say C.L. Lewis, but then I'm like, that doesn't sound right. And then I think C.K. Lewis, and I'm like, I don't know if that's right. People know who he is. I recognize him, but yeah, his name, I never remember.
Oh, no, I don't recognize him from anything, ever. That was a good one. It was funny. It was great. Dave. Champion Dave.
Champion Dave. Okay.
Way over Ben. Because Ben is funny at the beginning, where he's just kind of like, what in the world? And he's really kind of a jerk a lot at the beginning. He's like, no. Like, it's not happening. No. And then he nicely kind of comes through with the little children's festival thing and helps them out, which was nice. That was nice of Ben. Said he wasn't heartless. His whole deal in the treat yourself day, though, that was bad. I hated that.
Treat yourself.
I was just like, this is stupid. And then he was crying, and I was like, what is going on? Oh my gosh. His best stuff was the Harvest Festival stuff. Everything was better at the Harvest Festival. Like, that was the peak moment. There's like the 3 episodes where the Harvest Festival, I think, is like the middle or last one. Mm-hmm. Were good. Those were so good. You get little Sebastian nonsense. Because, man, I definitely get it. Where he's just like, I don't understand. It's a horse. It's a pony. He's like, yep, that's what it is. It's old, decrepit, basically. Nothing. Didn't get any of it. No, but the whole town loves little Sebastian.
Yeah.
So stupid. And I definitely called it when he's like sitting there and he's like, oh, yeah, I definitely get it. Yeah. And he's like pointing to the shirt and you're like, no, you don't get it. Not for a second do I believe that you get this.
Yeah.
And then the next scene is him being like, nope.
No idea.
I'm no. I appreciate that he basically lies about it and then it comes back in like the Leslie long date crypto thing.
The scavenger hunt?
Yeah, but he gets a cryptex first and then the scavenger hunt. But yeah, I was just like, why? This whole thing's now built on a lie, buddy. Partially making me hate him a little bit. No, because he's so good. He's so like straight-laced. Like if April had been over there like and built something on lies, I'd be like, great. Good on you. Everything basically with you is built on lies. To some fashion. So, I don't know what to tell you. But Ben I expected better from. I also feel like he's like supposed to be like this nerdy character that has basically no real screen time of him being a nerd, besides like he dresses up as Batman.
Well, I mean, I think at the beginning they show it through like, oh look, he likes calculus and math, which as we know is only for nerds.
Him liking math does not make me think that he's a nerd. Because we try to portray nerd in like he's like really into Star Trek and all these other things, but it's only like in offhanded comments, like when Tom and Ben and Joan are sitting there having lunch or whatever, and he's like, oh, talk about Star Trek for a little bit. And he clearly has this like invested interest, but it's like only displayed there and never again.
For Star Trek, yes. I mean, you see him do his claymation.
Which I don't feel like is nerdy. He also was like, wow, man, that was awful.
Yeah, it didn't work out too well for him.
I feel like the best part of that was him being like, I sent that to Leslie, saying that was going to be the next Avatar. Did you?
You're lost, buddy. Lost in your head.
Yeah, you're a little confused. Or Avatar really sucks. I've never seen Avatar, so maybe Avatar is that pathetic that someone getting out of bed is better than that.
The first time I saw that scene way back, I laughed so hard. I loved that scene so much. You're expecting more than what is it, 2-3 seconds?
I think it's
at
4.
the most 4 seconds. Oh man, I love that. I thought that was so funny. Just the song with it too, I thought was really well
I
done.
don't remember what the song was. There was music though.
There is. I really think that was a really good moment. I loved it.
I mean, it's funny. I mean, realistically, that amount of time in claymation is a massive amount of work still, is the funny part.
Yeah, well, he said it took them like several weeks just to do those seconds, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's pretty normal. Like, from my understanding.
I think that's a really funny thing. Now, I won't spoil it. In the future, the thing that I think makes him the standout nerd in a future season will come up, and that's generally his most talked about moment, I think. So when we get there, maybe we'll see if you change your mind.
I don't think I'm going to change my mind because I'm
know.
always going to be bitter that he is not Dave. He's not as good as Dave. And I related to him over Little Sebastian, and that's it.
But do you like him more than Tom?
Oh, he's middle ground. He's a mediocre character.
Okay.
Like, he beats out Tom and Chris easy. Tom and Chris are the bottom of the barrel. Hanging out there with Donna.
You don't like Donna?
No. I kind of didn't hate Donna until she was just a tart. Sleeping with everybody, just anyone she can get her hands on, and I just thought it was just kind of this weird deal that like she's all this like we just all of a sudden explore the side of her character, and that's like her whole character.
Well, that and her bins, that is her character.
I mean, sure. I just feel like if you own a nice car, I don't know why you're even driving it if you're that concerned about it. I mean, the good scene was where they were trying to get the vans, and then he hits her, and she just loses it. But that was pretty funny.
I do like that scene.
Like, I thought it worked out really well.
I think that's one of her better scenes, actually. I don't dislike Donna. I think of her as about the same way as Chris. You can't carry it, and I think that's fine.
No, she's just kind of sassy and mean and irritating, often. I'm just like, I don't want to deal with you, ever. But then you're like, somewhat kind of useful sometimes, and I don't understand you. I just feel like you're never consistent. But I feel like the show really struggles in large part with consistency.
It's a common problem in comedy shows in general, is consistency will be broken pretty frequently. And I generally don't let that bother me too much unless it's just like egregious. But I don't think the show is egregious about it, except for like the transition from from season 1 and 2. That's fine. Like, you're getting your footing. I understand that. But in general, I can break with the consistency a little bit for a joke. I don't always like it, but I can get over it. The thing I like about Donna, though, she seems to be good at her job in general. Or, like, you can rely on her to do what she needs to do, and she just seems to just get it done. And she knows what she's doing. She's competent.
I mean, I don't know. I can't gauge competence on anybody. There's only 3 people I know what their job is, realistically. Like, excluding April, because April just kind of sits there and doesn't really have a job. She just gets paid to sit there and keep things away from Ron.
What a good job.
Right, which is fine. I mean, she does it. I know what Leslie's job is. I know what Ron's job is. I don't know what Tom's job is. But I have no clue what Jerry's doing, and I have no clue what Donna's doing. They're just sitting there and Jerry gets snubbed all the time, and it's rude, and it's mean, and it kind of makes me like Jerry more than a lot of them, because Jerry puts up with it.
Jerry's a trooper. I think that's always been my least favorite aspect of the show, is how Jerry is just completely ridiculed all the time. For no reason. He clearly isn't a super good person job efficiency wise, and he's probably not the smartest individual, but he just gets bashed on for things he doesn't do all the time. Oh, I'm in trouble, I'm gonna shift all my blame to Jerry, and I don't really like it. It's pretty much never funny. It's fine if he messes up, and that can be funny if he didn't make a mistake. It can be funny if anybody makes a mistake. I don't really get it. Now I kind of like his relationship with Donna, actually, though.
There isn't really a relationship with them, though.
There's not a lot, but there are scenes with those two that I think make me like Donna a little bit more. Because, sometimes she jumps in on laughing at him, but she rarely, just goes for him. It's Jerry's fault. I don't know if she ever has, actually. And generally, she can sometimes, help him out and not be a complete jerk to him. So I kind of like that. But Jerry is definitely his character isn't my least favorite part. It's the treatment of his character that's my least favorite part.
Yeah, I just feel like they're a jerk to him all the time, and it just bothers me a lot that they're just such jerks for no reason at all, ever. There's no explanation, they just start up being jerks, and it's the only thing probably consistent in the show. You're always going to be a jerk to Jerry, except for in the Harvest Festival, when Tom's over there being a jerk, and Ron's like, Tom, it's clearly your fault. And he goes down the list of everybody's problems in the moment.
Yeah.
Which was good. I liked it. That was a good scene. But we still kind of were mean to Jerry. We were like, Jerry, we both know you were just, shoving funnel cakes or whatever. And I'm like, Tom deceived him. If he was shoveling funnel cakes on his free time, he was shoveling funnel cakes on his free time. It's all on Tom still. Because Tom is a terrible person.
Jerry's an interesting case. It's definitely the thing that I go, the show would be better if this wasn't a problem.
Yeah. And you know what Jerry also brings to the table? The painting episode. That was hilarious. That was a good episode.
You like that episode?
I liked that a lot.
With Leslie being painted as a centaur.
I just thought it was hilarious that it ended up being Leslie. And then they were like, she just felt so confident that she was preserving this painting. And there's nope, there's nudity. And then it was over. I kind of wish we had brought that back, because we bring a lot of other things back, like their little mural that they made or their mock mural that they made as a group, and Leslie turns in the one they made and not the one Mark made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's also on the wall.
Yeah, that's on the wall. Her little meter for the park is on the wall. A lot of these things stick around, and I like that. I think they're really good touches, but we never are going through Leslie's house for some weird reason just to see the painting or something, or I don't know. I liked the painting thing. I thought it was funny. It was also a good deal where Tom was getting, screwed over. And I was like, yeah, you deserve that, buddy. You deserve that.
Yeah.
Because you're awful. Just so awful. Nobody wants to deal with your nonsense.
We also get an appearance from our favorite Christian.
Yeah. Marsha Langley? Yeah, that's what I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's funny.
She's very funny.
I've met people kind of close to that.
Yeah.
Not quite that bad, but kind of close. And I'm like, okay.
People like that do exist.
Oh, they do. They're few and far between, but yeah.
Yeah, but I feel like every town probably has at least one person like that. That's just outrageous. And I think she's a funny recurring character. Not that she appears very often. I think she's in, 3 episodes or something? 3 or 4?
I don't know.
That might be her first or second appearance?
I thought it was her second.
It might be her second appearance.
I don't remember what the first one was, though. But yeah. I knew who she was when she came on screen, so I know
You're like,
she was there before.
Yes. I do actually like how a lot of the, minor characters in the show, some of these audience members, you're like, oh, it's this guy. It makes it feel like this actually is the same town.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good decision on their part.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. Sometimes she's there, and I think she's just one of those characters you see, and you're like, yes. I know how you're going to react to this. Not good.
Her first appearance was over the penguin marriage.
Oh, yes.
That's what it was. That was also funny. It's also one of the few things that actually gets brought back up later. Because I feel like we just drop things often and never bring them up again.
Yeah, I mean, that's the nature of the show.
But yeah, no. Good old Marsha Langley. She's my friend. Me and Marsha Langley. I'm going to become just like her when I become an old man.
Oh, that'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
It would be great. It would be so good.
Nobody
will want to talk to me, ever.
That's true. Nobody wants to talk to you now, so in the future...
I'm crying. I'm going to start crying, and people are going to hear my sobs.
They're going to turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we've talked about a lot of the characters you don't really care about, or are indifferent about.
Well, that's most of them.
Yeah. So which characters do you like?
I like April sometimes, which is surprisingly sad. Yeah. Because I thought I was going to love April.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't. I don't love April. I like April. She has the same problem that Lulu has from 10.
From Final Fantasy 10?
Yeah. Her choice in men ruins it.
Mm.
Lulu's great for so long. She's doing so good. She's a jerk. She's realistic. Tell me what they need to hear. And then for some reason, she chooses her, dead love's brother, who's an idiot, and then ruins her. It ruins her character. Makes her less good. April picks Andy. And while I don't think Andy is a terrible character, like, Andy's better than Ben.
Okay.
Like, he's above mediocre. Like, if he's on an out of 10 scale, he's a 6, and Ben is a 5. But, man, him and April do not make sense at all. At any point for me. Like, I just don't get why she would choose to be with this moron.
I think it's because he goes with her antics, and not many people are going to do that are not, like, completely awful people. And C has a heart, as much as he likes to pretend that she's a complete dick. Like, she clearly does have a heart and can be kind. And so, at the beginning, she has, like, a gay boyfriend.
Ben and whatever.
Yeah, which is a very strange relationship.
That was really stupid. I didn't need them.
Yeah, I didn't really care for that. That's the kind of people she would attract if not for Andy. And so I think that's why it works well, is because he can be that person that will do silly, stupid things with her, but is not a completely awful person to be around. So I think that works pretty well, actually.
No, it never makes sense to me on that front. I just go, she needs someone who could be a little bit more of a jerk. And she only seems to start to care way later and more recently is the problem. And I didn't need that from her. I just wanted her to be consistently a jerk who was in it for herself and just being a jerk. That's what I needed. That's what I wanted. And she just kind of stops being like a legitimate jerk. And she just kind of is like cold and not a jerk.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like the last, really good scene with April is the bacon scene, which is fantastic. With her and Ron standing over there, throwing the bacon away. That episode was good. It also ends with Chris being like, that is better. That was a good burger. I wanted it to be a little more than just like, here's the burger. I wanted to put some toppings on there or put some minimal more effort in. But that was the minimalist of minimal burgers.
Here's a bun and some meat. You can put ketchup on it if you want to.
I don't care either way. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that episode. It's very funny. Because Chris is just going through all this effort to just make this amazing turkey burger. Just going to this fancy store, buying the fancy things. And then Ron's just like, I'm just going to buy some meat. That's all I need. And some crows. Because April wants some crows for some reason. Or ravens, whatever they were.
The meat is from a discount store. This is for us it's like grocery outlet.
Yeah, food and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know what that would be culturally anywhere else. But yeah, that's like grocery outlet for us. Oh man, grocery outlet is a sketchy place. If I ever been to a grocery store that's sketchy, that's the one.
Ah, yes.
But that's where he goes. Food and stuff, yeah.
That's a good episode. But I'm actually not surprised on your reaction with April, because I knew before the show that you had liked her from clips you've seen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you like her actress.
Yeah, Aubrey Plaza is really funny in interviews and just super awkward and weird, and I like it.
I think she plays her role well, and I think she's a good fit. But I also knew that her character wasn't always like that, and so I was curious to see what you would think of her in the end.
I mean, she's still better than a lot of other people, but she's not good. She doesn't quite make it to good. Andy ruins her. She also, sometimes, they're just, Andy's clearly an idiot. I'm like, oh, we have to pay bills. April's not an idiot. She knows you have to pay bills, and she's not... Things like that were just April has no clue how to set up a bank account or do any of these things, but then magically she's competent later enough to do some of Leslie's job, and it's just okay.
I think...
She's not that stupid, guys.
She's clearly not stupid. I think it's more that she's just going with the flow. She's not putting in the effort to try to be better. she's gonna do what she wants and just be lazy about it. And even when, Ben's like, all right, I'm going to teach you how to open up a banking account. And she's like, oh boy, kind of thing. Like, she clearly knows, she probably knows how to do this. She just doesn't really care. Now, that is another episode that I think is really good. When Ben moves into the house. That's one of my favorites.
It's a funny one. I think the best line in that is when, oh, how'd you sleep? Well, there were no bed bugs. And no bed. I'm gonna go get a bed. And then he just turns around and he's so surprised. Because they're eating turkey chili. I'm impressed that he looks at it and knows it's turkey chili. Magically.
He knows.
He's good. Off of a Frisbee.
They are.
But yeah, the ending of that is really good. Yeah, they're sharing a spoon or a fork, I think.
Oh, is that the same episode as the painting?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That is a good episode.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I think that's the start of the good episodes, and then you get the Harvest Festival thing. I think you get leading up and the Harvest Festival.
Ah.
And then that really, I'm telling you, that was the apex of the first 4 seasons right there.
Yeah, that is...
It was good.
That's a good episode. That is a really good one. It's funny on both plot lines. Because sometimes I think the show is funny on one plot line and not both. And that's unfortunate, but that's fine. It happens. I like April. I think she's a fun character. I think she's a unique character. I don't really know of any character like her in anything else, show-wise. You can find characters similar to her in like video games, like a JRPG. But in television, I feel like she's pretty unique, especially for American television. Just like, you're a strange character, but I think she fits really well. And Aubrey Plaza plays the character very well.
Well, it's basically written for her.
Yeah.
She's not in the original setup for it. Everything's pretty much greenlit. And then someone on their team is like, look, I just met this girl. She needs to be in your show. And then he, sent her into his office. And I know the interview I've seen with him, he was like, it was the most awkward experience of my life. She just, stared at me with her dead eyes and just, kind of weirdness. And then I put her in the show. I'm like, okay.
That was a good choice.
It was a good choice. April adds a lot.
She's an oddball, but I think she's a good part of the show. I like her. And I like Andy, too. I mean, he's clearly a buffoon and just incredibly stupid. I'm surprised you haven't killed yourself, stupid. Because, man, you are dumb. But, man, I think he can be pretty dang funny, too. Some of his lines are just gold.
He does have some really funny moments, but I fail to remember any of them, which I feel like is a lot of the problem of this show. There's oh, that was funny, and then I never remember any of them. Unless they were, exceptionally funny.
I mean, that's fair. I think he's one of the more consistently funny characters, though. He's generally in every episode he's in funny.
No, he's not. He's not always funny. He is funny, sometimes. But his stupidity really gets to me.
Oh,
but stupid characters are not my favorite at all.
Which is why I'm surprised you rated him so high, because I know you generally don't like that kind of character. But that's surprisingly high.
His consistency helps him. He's consistently the idiot, except for in the one moment where he takes over, April's in the hospital, and him and Ron are talking, and he uses some, ridiculous words that I'm like, I mean, those aren't large words, but those are words that the average citizen might use and know, and you are far below that. So
I love him in women's studies. His first time in the class, and he's like, we need to do these things, and then women will be equal. All those things are very funny.
Yeah, that's good. And then, but he's sitting in the front row too. Is the better part. That's the good. That's the good student row. Is the best part of it. And I don't think there's anybody else in the shot in the front row. He is in the front row, and he's very confident about himself and all his stuff. And
yeah, I think people's favorite scene with him, which I didn't hear a reaction out of you from, was when Leslie is sick and she's trying to make it there, and he's typing on the computer, and he's like, oh, look up your symptoms or whatever. And he looks at it, and it's like, you may have network connectivity issues or whatever that is.
It's kind of funny. It wasn't that funny.
It's an ad-libbed line.
Is it?
Yeah, it is. And I think that's a hilarious line. Now, I've seen that one meme so many times that it's like, okay, I don't really laugh at it too much anymore, but I do think it is a very good line. I think that's probably people's favorite line from him. I think there's probably better, but it's something to note. I mean, there's the scene where he shows up to Anne's house naked, and I know he really did that.
Yeah, no, yeah, he also... I didn't realize that was so early.
Yeah.
Because I knew I'd seen an interview with him, I think on Graham Norton, and he's like, so you really showed up, like, you really did that in the nude? And he's like, yeah, I just wasn't getting the reaction out of Anne that I really felt like was believable. And so I just did it. And, whoo, man, I got in a lot of trouble. Like, I got a whole letter about, like, you screw up again, you're done. Like, no grace. We went straight from perfectly fine to 0 grace, don't screw up again. Like, because it's a big deal. And I get why it's a big deal. Kind of. But in the end, like, whatever. But then he ends that interview and he's like, that is also the scene we used. And he's just looking like so cocky and confident of himself. And I'm like,
good on you, though.
Results are results. You cannot argue results.
I mean, their reactions are pretty good. They're definitely like, what? That's a pretty famous scene, I think. It's very fitting of his character, though, I think. Just ridiculous living in a pit, doing what he has to do to survive. Yeah, no, I think Andy's a good character. I think he adds a lot to the show. I think he's an important character for the show.
Yeah, I mean, he's also loyal, and he does kind of get some things done. The best scene with him is him and Ben at the Halloween party. I feel like that was probably the best line of Andy, is when Ben walks in, he's like clearly looking at his work, and then he gets hit with the skeleton, he's like, oh, so I guess we're having a party. He's like, oh, dude, yeah, I know, I forgot to tell you something. And then Ben responds, though, yeah, I didn't tell you I was going to be quietly working in my room, so I guess we're even, or whatever. And then he acts like that was the most appropriate response ever.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
And he's like, yeah, it's cool, dude, or whatever, or something. And I'm like, Andy. Oh, my gosh. And then he, like, holds him. Oh, that was good stuff. I thought that was real funny. And then Ben accidentally hits him. Just breaks his nose. So we go back to the same weird doctor guy.
Ah, yes. He's another one of those reoccurring characters.
Yeah, who didn't need to be there.
What are you? Are you qualified?
He's also really weird every time.
Yeah.
He's like really weird. When there's the scene where they're doing the testicle exam, that was the weirdest scene ever. I was just like really weirded out. It's like the biggest penis I've ever seen.
For Jerry.
Okay.
Well, I think so for that, it's led to some theories that I've seen, because Jerry has like a really hot, attractive wife and really beautiful daughters and everything, and everyone's like, how the heck did he get such such a good wife kind of thing? And then some people like to be like, it's because he's got a really big penis.
Maybe it is. I don't really care. I haven't seen his wife.
Has he not have a beard yet?
You've not seen Gail. You've only seen Millicent.
Okay. You do eventually see all of them, so I thought we had seen her.
Maybe in a picture on his desk or something, but
Yeah, I'm not sure.
She hasn't appeared in show.
She doesn't appear often, so...
She's called with the painting episode.
And she's mentioned.
Which was also funny. No, I did not pose for Jerry.
Yeah.
And then that's also a good example of where humor with Jerry could have been good, where Tom's like, the only thing he has eyes for is you, and like jelly donuts or something, right? And like, I mean, that's an easy blow, but I feel like it was a conveniently nice blow. It was kind of a fun little jest, and it worked, right? You could have done humor like that with Jerry, and it would have been fine, instead of like, wow, Jerry, you suck all the time.
Yeah,
you're terrible. You did it right. Okay, you suck.
Yeah. He could do something like amazingly well, and then they'd be like, that was awful. Why did you do that?
Yeah, like the painting for the mural. He like paints this super nice, or does this whole... I don't remember what that's called, but yeah, it's the pictures that make up a mess.
Yeah, the tiny pictures.
Yeah, that make up a picture, and it's like so nice.
Yeah, it's really good.
And they're like, crap! Jerry, you suck!
Oh, it's because he messes up his speech, right?
No, they just didn't like it.
No, I'm pretty sure because he says murinal.
Oh, you're right. He does say murinal, and then they're all
they're
done.
just fixated on that, and then that's it.
Yeah.
And it's things like that where that's not funny. Like, that's an easy speech. Neither here nor there. I like Andy. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, Andy does good things. That's his best scene, though, is the Halloween party.
I'm surprised, pleasantly surprised that he's higher up on that list than I thought. So,
Not quite a good character.
That's fine.
He's got 3 seasons, though. Sure. He could claw his way up there. I don't think he will.
Fair enough.
Or like when he runs into the ambulance, that's also a good scene. Because he runs into it. He's like, "Oh, somebody call an ambulance? Not the one I just ran into. It's a different one. Call me a different ambulance." It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, like, those are fine scenes.
Okay. I'm surprised, but...
The network connection error thing was not that funny to me. Like, I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. That's clever.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's see. And then we got... Supposed we should talk about Leslie herself.
Yeah, you got Ron and Leslie. That's what you got left, basically. I don't think there's anybody else.
Those are your 2 major players left, I believe.
Oh, no, that's not true. We've mentioned Anne. We haven't talked about Anne.
Oh, Anne.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should get Anne done. What do you think of Anne?
Done. Oh, Anne comes and goes. I kind of hated Anne at first, and then I kind of was like, Anne, okay, you're not terrible. And then I kind of liked her for a little bit with her and Leslie, but really that was just Leslie being good, not really Anne. And at this point, I'm kind of like, I don't like you. I basically started hating Anne after she started sleeping around with everybody, because it just seemed so ridiculous and out of character, and like, if it was like for like an episode, like, you know, she sleeps around, we move on. But it's like a long time.
I think it's 4 or 5 episodes or something.
It's a long time. But it's like there's like a time skip in there, and so she's been sleeping around for so long.
Yeah, the time skips are not very clear most of the time. Sometimes it's like, oh, it's been 3 weeks. And sometimes it's like, it's been 5 months. And you're like, okay.
Yeah, and I was just like, man, and no. Like, sometimes she's funny, and I like that she's, like, such a good friend to Leslie.
Yeah, I like her friendship with Leslie. But that's the main thing I have to say. Honestly, I find her to be the least funny character in the show. Of your main characters. I don't think she's generally funny. She's almost like a straight man in that kind of comedy. But I don't think she makes, like, a good one. She's the most plain of the characters, I think. She's, like, the most, like, realistic human being, I feel like. Like, you're not completely stupid, but you can be kind of silly and forgetful or whatever else. But I've always thought she was a strange character for the show.
No, I don't think she's strange. I think she's funny sometimes. I feel like she's got some good quick wit things. I was really rooting for her to win in the small talk thing with April and Ron. I really wanted her to win, and she did, and I was really pleased with that. That was a good deal. But that also ends really well with Ron being like, whatever. He calls her whatever. Yeah. Like Sarah or something. And he's like, I thought that was really good. That was a good deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's fine. Like, she's nothing better than fine.
Yeah, I don't dislike her, but I generally would say she's the most boring character, and she's the least funny to me. She very rarely makes me laugh. And in a show like this, I mean, I'm watching it to laugh. For the most part. Mm-hmm. And I just don't think she achieves that very often. But I think for, like, a human character, she works well. And like I said, I like her relationship with Leslie.
Leslie being funny is halfway dependent on Anne, so...
I mean, they're a duo for their scenes.
It's good. I feel like the best scene with Anne is when Leslie, like, it's at the Valentine's Day deal... when she goes and meets up with Tom, but it's right before that when she's like, Leslie's like, you're the most perfect ethnic mix or something. But she prefaces it like, I know you hate to hear this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Yeah, like, it's so funny.
You're this ambiguous ethnicity that perfectly encapsulates, like, the American dream or whatever.
The American melting pot or something.
Yeah. Very funny.
Yeah, it's a good line.
And she's just like, wow.
Yeah, you can tell she's like, why do I stick around with this woman? No, I like Anne enough. Like, she's fine.
She is loyal to Leslie.
Yeah, which I felt was really weird for a while because she's like loyal from the get-go.
Yeah, it's a very fast reset.
But after the show has gone on for a while and it's like, oh, it's been a year, I feel like their relationship works better for me.
Well, I don't really have much more to talk about with Anne, so I think we could get to Leslie.
Leslie is surprisingly much better than I thought she was going to be. But what carries Leslie's character is the fact that she has great leadership skills. Just phenomenal leadership skills. Leslie is putting everybody to shame with her great leadership skills. And that's what brings her together. She's funny sometimes, for sure. But, like, the best scene with Leslie is when she is sick, and she just, like, powers through it, and she, like, goes and steals everybody's drugs, and then shows up, just, like, going crazy, and then just delivers this amazingly great speech. I was like, yeah, Leslie, you are great.
Push through.
Yeah.
Gotta do my work, no matter what.
Yeah. I connect with Leslie.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, I really liked that.
Fair enough.
And then when she's trying to do everything with her campaign and that, and she's really stubbornly like, nope, I can do it. Those were all really funny. Because Rhonda's over there just like, oh yeah, don't worry. She'll take care of everything. She'll fix these signs and we'll deal with this parks emergency and everything. Yeah.
He does really ham it up.
Yeah, he lays it in real thick where he's just like, Leslie, you dang moron. She also is really funny in, I guess, that cold open where Ron walks into her office and is like, hey, I need to speak to you or whatever. And then she's like, oh, what's up, Ron? And then she starts rapping. And she raps like the whole song and then comes back and he's like, well, there's someone on fire in Ramsett Park, and you need to be down there immediately.
He just waits.
And he waits it out. Like, it's so good. Because it's like such a good shock value.
That is a good moment. I like that moment. I think Leslie is a very good lead for this show. She, as you say, she's definitely kind of the leader of the team, of the parks department. Ron is the boss, technically. But for all intents and purposes, Leslie's leading the show for basically everything. And she's competent most of the time, but she has faults. Like, I like that. She's not a perfect character, but she is smart. She's capable. But, she's a bulldozer, as, she's been called oftentimes. And
steamroller.
Yeah. And she thinks her ideas are very good. She has a high opinion of her ideas. And she's stubborn, but she's willing to get down and dirty and do the work. She cares a lot. Like, it's very obvious that she does care a lot about everything, and she shows that very well. I think she's a very good lead for this show. I like her a lot. I think she's written well. I mean, barring first season again, where she's a complete doofus. She comes together as a character. She's played very well. A lot of her mannerisms, I think, are very funny. And sometimes they're hard to describe. But sometimes just the way she talks and her confidence, or so like assured in an idea. Like, well, how about we just do this? That's going to work. How about, yeah. And then they're like, no. And she's like, okay. Well, I tried. She's always going for her crazy ideas. She's quick-witted. I like her a lot.
I don't know that she is more of a leader than Ron. Ron lets her lead a lot of things. But when Ron needs to come in and lead something, Ron's a leader. Now, he's the natural-born leader type person. There's, like, the scene with his date of birth, and, like, Anne's in the office, and he's like, in my office, now! And she's like, I don't work for you, doesn't matter, in my office. Like, that's the natural-born, like, people follow you because you naturally are very assertive and lead. Whereas Leslie is the leader because she has earned followers from everybody. She has worked with everybody on their level to get them on her side. Except maybe Donna, you don't really see that with. But everybody else, there's like good moments where she's like endearing to them and like really working really hard, letting them do things their way. With the United Nations conference, like she kind of lets April have her way enough to still get what she wants.
The moon.
I will be the moon. How about South Africa?
The moon.
The moon or quit, yo. That was a good line. Pretty sure that's verbatim what it is, too.
It might be.
And then she's like, you can secretly control the moon. Right? Like, she finds her way to get her way.
Yeah.
But while letting people kind of do their thing and...
I really like that United Nations episode, actually. I think it's a pretty funny episode. It's a good encapsulation of her also being kind of selfish sometimes, and it brings out her faults. But, man, I love it when she's like, goes up on the podium, she's like, we declare war on, what is it, Denmark?
Yeah.
On Denmark.
I think it's Finland and Denmark.
It's just like, oh my god, you would. She gets so into it.
She's very emotive.
Yeah.
Right, and that's all she is. She's the emotive person, but that's why she connects with all these people really well, is because she understands the emotive game. Mm-hmm. And I feel like the Ron's Date of Birth episode is a really good example of, like, I'm gonna let him write it out, because I think it's funny, and Ron needs to write it out a little bit.
He's just terrified the entire time.
Oh, yeah. I understand that. I'd be not happy.
Yeah.
But then, you know, he opens the door and she's like, everything's just right for you, buddy. Got a cab and everything arranged. And also with Ron, where she does his will when he's being a jerk over the Sweetums thing with the bars in the park. And she's like, I've already prepared your eulogy. I just don't have to give it soon. It starts with, what is it? Oh, Captain, oh, Captain. A swan song for Ron Swanson.
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. And he gets it. He's like, oh, okay. But she also, like, understands, like, when Tom's being a jerk about the dating thing, that all she had to do was shut him up was to kiss him, and that got her in some hot water. But she knew the right thing to do to get the results she wanted.
Yeah.
Because she understood people really well.
She does seem to understand people pretty well. And she cares about people. Like, she's the ultimate people pleaser in many ways. Like, even people she starts to have real problems with, she wants to win them over. Case example being the bowling alley with this guy, and she is so stubbornly like, I have to get this guy's vote, and he doesn't like me, but I'm gonna win this. And Ben's like, look, there's so many more people you need to get on your side. Just ignore this guy. And she's like, yep. And then what does she do? She goes and plays a game with him immediately. Like, she can be very bullheaded about her goals and get sidetracked and not necessarily always see the bigger picture because she's stuck on something smaller. Another episode I like a lot too is the bowling. It's the bowling. But I like a lot of it just because I like the end of it with Ron rolling. Oh, he goes to the side aisle and he does the two-handed roll like Tom is, and he gets the 300, and he's like, son of a bitch.
That's really funny because he's giving Tom so much crap. Do you have any shame, son? Oh my gosh. Now, that is a bad episode for Tom. I hated Tom the whole episode. Because he's over there just being like the most effeminate man on the planet. So bad. That was also a good scene early on where the penguin episode, they send them not the snake hole, the bulge. Send them the t-shirts or whatever. And she's just been giving Tom crap about being effeminate. And like, you choose effeminate colors. And they send them, and they're the exact same color. And he has nothing to go on. That's pretty good. But the bowling alley thing, he's just like, oh, my finger. And Anne, I don't know why she's over there being a good person. She should take a bowling ball and drop it on his foot.
Oh, yeah. Tom is a crybaby when he wants to be.
Oh, man, but yeah.
No, Leslie, I think, is a very good lead for this show. I think she's definitely the heart of the show. She's the one that everything kind of resolves around. And I think she fits the role very well. She's a well-done character. I like her. Which leads us, I suppose, to Ron Swanson.
Good old Ron Swanson.
Ron Swanson. He's my favorite character.
He's your favorite character?
He is my favorite character. Definitely. I think he's very funny. He embodies a lot of things. He's a man's man kind of thing sometimes. But he does, in his own way, care. And he's smart, and he's capable, especially with things like woodworking in his hands. Like, he's a very good craftsman. And he's clever in his own way. He can lead. He can be responsible. And he has his hidden sides that he likes to keep away from people. I think he's played phenomenally well. I think his facial expressions are... Even when he's not, like, the focus of the shot, if you look at his face, he's oftentimes, like, playing his character in the background very well, like with the face and everything. Like, he just keeps it on, and it's so well done. I don't know that I ever dislike him. Like, I'm always happy with him on screen. I really love Ron.
Now, I have two large problems with Ron. Every episode involving Tammy's, awful. Hate them. I hate those episodes. They were not funny. They were stupid. The only part of those episodes that I can think of that was good is the last one with Tammy 1 and his mother, and they're doing the drinking, and he just walks up in there and is like, boom! Oh, yeah.
Gonna chug this poison.
Yeah, straight up nonsense. like, that was a little bit ridiculous. The inflammatory statements on it were a little much. We could have just been like, that's really amazingly strong alcohol.
Yeah.
And then been fine. You didn't have to tell me you burned warts off of things with it. That's ridiculous. That makes me think, why are you putting that down your esophagus?
Yeah. Not a good idea.
But, okay. But yeah, that's the only good thing I can say about the Tammy episodes. All the other ones I hated. They were just stupid. And then, the Duke Silver thing, not funny. Not good. Doesn't make sense. Don't like it at all. It works when April has screwed up and then he's trying to get her to come back. And he calls her Zuzu. And then she fires back with Duke Silver. I feel like that worked well. But it just, like, if it had only been, like, April, I think it could have worked. But everybody basically knows at this point. And it's like, okay.
For the most part.
Like,
the Duke Silver thing, it's not brought up enough for me to really care one way or the other. It's not, like, it's a part of his character, but it's a small part, and it's just one facet. And I think, I like the idea that he has his other side, where he moonlights as this jazz performer, and he's a big hit with the middle-aged women and older women.
Middle-aged women? They're not middle-aged.
Some of them are middle-aged.
They're not middle-aged.
But he's a big hit with the elderly women, and I think it's kind of funny, and every now and then, he gets recognized as, oh, are you Duke Silver? And he is like, I don't know who the hell you're talking about. And I don't have a problem with that. I think he's a very quotable character, and he's just so ridiculous in his ideologies. Like, he really takes his ideas to extremes. Like, we start talking about, oh, we gotta slash the budget, and he's like, count me in. I'm ready to destroy the government in which I work. And it's a fun thing to have for a government worker, right? Just the idea that I'm an inside man trying to tear down the man kind of thing. And it works well. I love it when he's teaching that, like, 9-year-old girl or whatever.
Yeah, the school tour that came in.
Yeah.
and he's telling her all about how bad the government is.
Yeah, and he's like...
When he gets reprimanded, though, it's better. Because he really, like, definitely is like, oh, I guess that wasn't the best idea. It's kind of look he gives, and she's like, you ate my daughter's lunch? And he's like, well, and you gave her a landmine. I mean, it seemed like a good idea at the time. like it's funny stuff. He is pretty consistently funny. I mean, him and Leslie are equal. They're at the top.
Fair enough. Yeah, I love that when he takes the sandwiches. This is the government, and this is taxes. Just bites like just eats the sandwich.
Well, yeah, this is what is it? This is like federal taxes or something, and they take 40%, and it's like big enough that he kind of has to shove a little bit in there. Yeah,
that's really funny. It's like, what are you doing?
I mean, it is a good analogy, like especially when he's like, I gotta think of a better analogy, because his other analogy is like sucking off the teeth of the government or of the people or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, I gotta figure out something better. And then the lunch thing, it's a good example.
It is. It works really well. It's an easy to understand idea.
Yeah. You want to understand how taxes work? That's how taxes work.
It comes to the
Not
government.
quite as extreme. It's not generally 40% in most people's cases. But you know. But yeah.
It's very funny. And then I like it when he's like, what the heck's with this computer knowing things about me? Or,
oh, yeah. Yeah, when he's like, April, come here. It's like, what? And then he's like, so I just went over here and I bought this thing, and then this popped up, and it says, Ron Swanson, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, what? So what's your question? And he's like, what the heck?
That's my question.
And he's like, do you want to know how they know your information? And he's like, yeah, how do they... And then she explains it in basic format, and then he throws the computer in the garbage.
It's like done.
That's some funny stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I also always go back to the pulling the tooth out.
The tooth thing is really funny.
Oh, man. What a good idea. I'm actually curious if anybody's tried that after having seen that.
I don't know if you can request your teeth and get them. I don't know. I saw my teeth when they got pulled out recently. Like, they showed them to me. They pointed them out to me. Not asking if I was going to be bothered by that. They just did it. I wasn't bothered. I didn't care. Whatever. There's some white, yellowish, bloody nonsense sitting in here. cool.
Well, I think you could probably get like even a fake tooth or something. Like you could make it work. But man, that's hilarious because these people are just freaking out. Tom passes out. Everybody's just like, "Oh, what is happening?" They just start running out of the room. That's really funny.
Yeah, it's also one of the lines where Donna's funny because the quip before that is like, "We're gonna have to all stop parking in the first street parking while they repaint the lines," and then Donna's like, "Nope, I'm not parking my Benz on the street," and he's like, "We're all doing it," and he's like, "Yeah, that's because nobody wants to steal a Saturn." And like, I don't know enough about cars to know how sad a Saturn is, but it's funny. You know Ben drives the cheapest, most reliable car he can.
Yeah.
You know. You don't have to question it. You just know that he's not drive the luxury Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah.
Status over there.
Yeah. I'm impressed with his character. Sometimes he just has good lines. Whenever you're doing like the interviews with the characters, that makes it, a mockumentary format. Ron is always, I think, just very funny. And he's just so ridiculous. And that's the thing, like, teach a man to fish. Or whatever, like, you can be taught I don't know exactly how it goes.
Well, normally it goes, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach a man to fish, you feed him for life. But his is like, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach a man to fish and there's less fish for you. You don't do anything for him and he starves out and dies or something, or...
Oh, no, I mean, the ending line is like, fishing's not that hard. Or it's like, be a man, fishing's not that hard. Man, I don't remember that quote. Which I should. I really like that quote, but it's a pretty long one. Maybe my favorite quote of him has not been in the show yet. So, we'll get there when we get there. I do really love his character. He's the character I really always go back to for the show. Like, yeah, you're hilarious.
No, I think the best lines with him are at the wedding, where Chris is in charge of bringing the cake. And it's just so good, because Chris is so oblivious to how offended Ron is. But it's also, like, that whole scene works really well, because then Leslie's like, go walk it off. And he's like, yeah. like, they play each other really well. But yeah, because he brings this vegetable loaf thing, which even as a vegetarian, I'm like, I don't want a vegetable loaf in place of cake. I don't want that. Not at all. Like, And then he's like, now did they ask you to bring a vegetable loaf or a cake? And he's like, well, they said cake. And then Chris just starts going off, and he's just like,
He's so angry about it.
Yeah.
It's very funny.
What the line is like, so let me get this straight. You deprived everybody else of cake.
Oh, yeah, he's like, not only does this thing exist.
Yeah, that's right.
But you've deprived everybody here of having cake. It's very good. Oh, man.
Yeah, him and Chris getting at each other is good.
They're a funny duo. But I think Ron has certain characters that he just works really well with. He works well with April. She's almost like a little protege to him.
Yeah.
And that's a fun dynamic. I like him with Andy because he's the only, like, male that kind of acts like a more stereotypical male. And they can kind of bond over that. And he works really well with Leslie. Like, they have a really strong relationship. And I always thought that was really nice, because he really trusts her. And even though he disagrees with her on a lot of fundamental philosophy, like, he respects her a lot. And she respects him a lot. Like, I think they work very well together.
I don't know that he works exceptionally well with anyone else. He has good scenes with everybody else.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
But
those are kind of his main partners.
But him and Andy is only like 2 or 3 times. Him and April is all the time.
Yeah.
And then him and Leslie is all the time. I think the best scene with them is really where she can't figure out the next idea. And so he's like, oh, I got a great idea. And then she's like trusting him, following him. And he just locks her in, and she's like looking for a way. And he's like, I already checked. Like he has it figured out. And then he's sitting in the meeting the next morning, like very confident about himself. And he's like, she'll show up. She'll be here. And then she like comes running in like a hot mess. And then... And he's like, I got 7 hours of sleep, which is twice the amount normally I get. I'm feeling fantastic and crazy. And I wrote out all these ideas with, did she use her own blood or something?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I used my own blood on this, pillow thing. You did what? But it's such a good little jab. She's like, because Ron didn't leave me any paper. You're crazy. You're all crazy. That's fine now. That's fine.
Leslie likes to get in on his activities, too. Like, oh, we're going hunting. I gotta be a part of that. I gotta break this glass ceiling kind of thing. Like, I gotta get in there and represent women within these things. And Ron just wants to go and do his thing. The stuff that he likes. He likes hunting. And he likes, eating meat. And he likes his breakfast food, like eggs. He's a fan. Or you have the troop, the boys' troop or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not trying to make this this sexist thing. He's just wanting to do what he likes and impart this knowledge kind of thing. And Seed comes up in here, and she's got to be a part of it. And she's just so... Well, with the hunting, it's especially like, oh my gosh. And you can kind of just tell that he's just annoyed by it all. And then he gets shot.
That's a really good moment. Because as Ron's complaining, I was like, man... When people do things that are just unbelievably stupid and I'm irritated by it, that's what happens. I just sit there in anger and I just say as many comments that revolve around me being irritated because you shot me. Because you know
really
what?
Good comment.
Yeah, and then Tom owns up to it. And I'm like, Tom, you would screw something up, huh?
Yeah.
But the scene where the park ranger's interacting with her, and she's just going down the list of sexist things of why it's her fault. Yeah, it's on my period, and I'm just some dumb blonde woman doing my thing, and, and I kind of tripped, and the safety wasn't. No, it was. Maybe
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and she's just struggling, and
she's just making every, possible thing she could. Like, I'm going to play up being a stupid blonde, my period... Whatever I can to make this seem just ridiculous.
Yeah, because she's the leader.
Yeah.
She's sacrificing for the team.
Yeah.
Well, this thing is great. But Ron in that hunting scene is also doing his thing where he's like, I washed it down with plenty of fluids, and it's like a fifth of whiskey. And Anne is just floored. She is just like, no, you gotta purge that. He's like, I'm not wasting perfectly good whiskey. Not happening.
Yeah, he's a very funny character. I'm a big fan of Ron. He's written very well, I think. He's a very smartly written character. And he just works so well all the time.
Yeah, sometimes I think it's a little weird. There's the foot shining scene thing. I thought that was really weird and unnecessary.
That is a weird one.
Another thing with his feet was I have to sand my toenails. That was really weird.
And he's missing. He doesn't have all of his toes.
It's implied he might not have all his toes.
Right. Yeah, there's something about his feet that's kind of weird, but whatever. That's small things. Overall, I think, man, he's a good character. He's very funny.
I mean, he works really well. Yeah, but a good scene is when the Pawnee Rangers and the Pawnee Goddesses or whatever thing, and she allows them in, and it ruins his whole thing. But then she makes up for it, right? Because she's a good leader. Yet again, she's like, hey, she puts out that ad for the Swansons, and they all show up. And you can tell he's really touched by that.
Yeah.
He's really endeared by that. Same with their Christmas gifts. That was another good deal where Leslie knows them all super well, gets them all good gifts that they're very pleased with, and then his, you're like, what could she have gotten Ron? And then he clicks the button. That's also great that we bring that back later, and Chris just slides right in. I just have to question how many takes that really took. Perfectly in the only available space in that doorway.
I really do like how they bring that back, though, yeah, and he uses it, and he's just he fails, and he's oh. It's very good. But Chris likes to find ways to kind of upend Ron, when he has to sit in this swivel in the middle of the room.
That's also a scene, though, where Ron is the leader, though, right? Ron goes to him and says, hey, look, we can't do this, my team. And he lays it out. He's like, Tom only performs when there's someone to impress. You're marooning him on Freak Island, it's not going to work. And all these other things, right?
Yeah, Jerry only works, if no one's looking at him.
Yeah, and he, knows his team. He knows how to get things accomplished with his team.
Yeah.
Because he is the leader of his team.
It shows he has a lot of insight, and that he knows a lot more than he pretends, I think. He knows his people, and he knows how to work with them. I like his reasoning for keeping Tom. Good enough to not, to keep the bosses off my back, but bad enough, or selfish enough to slow everything down. It's that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's when he's trying to get Tom back.
Yeah.
But then, I think it is season 1 or something where they're doing the Scrabble thing. And after that, he's like, yeah, I knew Tom was playing me. I knew he's not that stupid. But I like Tom. He's like the perfect government employee. He has no initiative. He only looks out for himself. He's never going to go the extra mile. It's just the antithesis. If you went into a job interview and you were like, I don't have any initiative. I don't care. I'm never going to put in any extra effort. I'm going to try and ditch out early as often as possible. And I'm never going to really try.
It's awesome.
You wouldn't get that job. They would be floored by how stupid that was. It'd be funny.
It'd be impressive. But Ron, he would be impressed.
Yeah.
He'd be like, this is my man. That's very funny. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of good scenes with Ron.
Yeah, except for Tammy scenes. Ugh.
They're not super often. Maybe once a season, right? I like the fact that Tammy 2 is his real life wife.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Tammy 2, they're actually married in real life. And I think it shouldn't, but I kind of feel like that adds it for me. It just makes it funny to me just to think about that, as how they're just playing off of each other in this crazy way. And she's just she is so provocative with slapping meat on her face or bacon or whatever the hell it was. Just you are so clearly just wanting him for sex and to control him and whatever. But it's just so funny. And I can't imagine just being married. That's gotta be a really fun thing to act out. It's just gotta be really funny.
Okay, I'm not seeing what you're seeing, but that's fine. I didn't know they were married. That doesn't make those scenes better. I'm pretty indifferent about that fact.
I love it when she throws Tom into the bookcase. Just really beating up this guy. And Ron's just just stop it. I also like how he uses words like son and whatnot. He's this old man kind of thing. It's very funny. It makes him feel old-timey. He is portrayed as having these old-fashioned ideas.
Not really old-fashioned ideas, but he has very old-fashioned values.
Maybe that's a better way to phrase it. But I really like it. It's very funny.
I mean, he works. Ron's good. Equally as good as Wesley. So
they're good characters.
Wesley has poor choice in men. Ron has poor choice in women. Because also his stuff with Wendy, not funny.
Yeah.
That was just kind of mean. It was really mean-spirited and felt really out of place. I don't feel like Ron is mean-spirited.
No.
Often. And that was clearly just mean-spirited for the sake of mean-spirited.
Sleeping with her?
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, he was interested in her. And so he did that. And admittedly, Tom was saying that it was fine.
Yeah, and everybody knew.
Known better. But
everybody knew better than that. He knew better than that.
I do like when they're at the strip club, though. And he's going for a breakfast bar or all you can eat breakfast buffet or whatever.
Yeah.
Inside of a strip club. And that's what he's there for.
I think we need to go to a strip club that has that.
I don't know if I would trust that as being good food.
You know what? It's included with me being there. Right? I paid probably a cover charge.
Yeah.
And then I get to be there eating free food. And there'll be women that I can watch.
Yeah. It's kind of the point.
Portland's got to have something like that.
Well, Portland has a lot of strip clubs.
More than everywhere else, because we're better than everybody else. I don't know if that's really my claim to fame for Portland. I don't particularly love that fact.
It's a funny fact to me. We have the most brewery or microbreweries and the most strip clubs of any city in the world. Very odd facts, but we've covered the characters pretty well. Don't suppose there's anybody else we need to talk about? Want to talk about?
I don't think there's anybody else in the show, is there really?
Not yet.
That's not important.
Yeah.
There's minor people that are not really that important to anything.
Yeah, there will be a couple more minor characters that will... I mean, you got things Perd Hapley
I mean, you got Perd and, like, Joan, who are not likable, and they're not supposed to be likable.
Well, Joan's clearly not supposed to. Perd, I think, is... I kind of like Perd. He's kind of funny.
He's not funny.
Don't
lie.
He's so clueless. But he's like this is what would he be? A newscaster, interviewer?
He's like a newscast. That's like a news hour thing.
And just the way he phrases everything, it's kind of, it's funny. I like it.
No, it's bad. Yeah, him and Joan. Like, Joan is annoying and not pleasant.
Yeah, she's clearly meant to be, like, awful.
And then you got, like, Maltweep over there, who I hated.
Son of Maltweep. Malwell? Whatever.
I don't remember. I hated her. Mm-hmm. I never wanted her to reappear. She hasn't appeared in a while, and I'm pleased.
She was fine.
She's kind of is, like, the epitome of, like, bad journalism. And I'm just kind of like, I hate you. I kind of hate that you're over here, like, getting away with whatever you want, because you're apparently an attractive woman.
I guess. I don't know. She's pretty unsuccessful with getting a man, right? So it's one of the plot lines with her. The only real plot line with her.
She's not really unsuccessful at getting a man.
Well, I mean, she sleeps with, like, Mark.
And Andy, right?
No. She tries to get with Andy, but Andy was interested in April at that point and says no.
Oh, I don't remember. But yeah, and then the weird thing is, like, the last time she appeared, she's, like, flirting with Ben, and then she's magically gone, and we don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
Like, ever. At all. That's the last time she appeared.
That's true. I don't remember if she shows up again.
There's a Zorp episode.
Yeah, that was another... I also like that. I like how Ron is making these, like, flutes for them. It's just profiting.
It's a good deal because he's making flutes often in other scenes.
Yeah.
And so, like, it calls it back really nicely.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is... Like, you're doing this for a reason. You're making some money. Because you're selling them for a lot of money. And this probably doesn't take you that much time because you're, like, a master of master.
I mean, he made a harp. Blackout drunk.
He's so good.
So...
He's friggin' awesome.
That's a good scene, though, where Leslie stops him and he complies and appeases her angrily. And then he comes in and he's like, there's a picture of me with yesterday's paper. There's a picture of me with today's paper. You'll notice I made this harp. There's me with this alcohol.
That's awesome.
Would you like to, you know... And she doesn't concede either, though. She's like, okay, great. Still don't drive drunk.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
I mean, good on her.
That's the message right here.
Good on her.
Don't be a drunk driver.
Yeah, that is a message. But he was confident in himself.
I mean...
A lot of drunk people are. It's a common thing. I drive better when I'm drunk. Okay.
That's not true.
I agree. But people do say that.
I've never heard someone say that.
I've met one person. And you've also met him.
Who?
Our old neighbor across.
Oh, did he say that?
Yeah, not to you, but he's said it before.
Here's something. Here's a funny guy. Oh, yeah. Now, I've met people who are like, I work better with marijuana in my system. And some of those people, it's not very noticeable. Some of those people, it's very, very noticeable.
I suppose we should touch on some other aspects of the show.
No.
If we can.
I mean, the acting's all good in this show.
It's well acted.
Besides like Mark and like some minor characters.
Sure.
I feel like all the acting is pretty good outside of that. Like, I feel like they're all good actors, despite the fact that most of them play bad characters.
Yeah, I mean, they play a bad character well, right? You can hate John Ralphio, but he has played very well. I mean,
that's some acting. Unless he naturally actually speaks like that.
I'd have a hard time imagining he does.
But otherwise, it's good acting. The best deal with him is the accounting scene.
Oh, yeah.
Where he's just laying it on, and then he sees this woman, and he lays it on real thick. And then it's just so fluid, because he's like, just go out the same way I came in.
He's just walking out. He never stops. He just walks the...
Yeah, he knew what was about to happen. And I thought that was it was a smooth camera work.
It was very good. Yeah, it's funny touches like that I think really add. I like that the supporting characters or minor characters kind of sometimes get that shine. Just come in and have their little scene. I think it's fun. I think it adds to the sense of a town and there being more than just a parks department in a town.
No, I think there is only a parks department in this town. Leslie manages every other department single-handedly.
Yeah, and now she's a councilwoman.
Yeah, I don't really know what that's going to mean or how that's going to play out. And her and Ben are separated. And I'm like, I don't care about this plot line. And I think that's going to really grate on me coming up. Because I just kind of want them to not be a couple. I want Anne to not be with anyone. Mm-hmm. And figure it out. and able to go back to being a jerk more often. Because she basically hasn't been really much of a jerk. And Chris needs to get over being sad. Or get off the screen. Both. Both could go good. He could get over being sad and leave the screen.
Do you have any predictions on what's going to happen in the show?
No. I don't really... I mean, Leslie's going to keep going. She's going to do some stupid things. Dig herself out. I don't know. There's not much to predict. It's not overly consistent. It kind of picks a story and then plays it out and then moves on.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting format in that, like, at the beginning, it's about there's this giant hole in the ground. We gotta fill that up. And then we fill that up, and then we kind of move on, right? To some other things. We get a harvest festival, and now, I gotta run for office. Like, there's some through lines, and I think it's interesting. And I think it works, because we don't focus on them too much. I think, like, they're the driving force of what we're doing, but the antics are still the heart of the show, right? Watching it for its plot would be weird, because there's not really much of a plot. She's progressing her career. That's the plot.
I mean, basically, there's not much else to it. I don't know. I don't have any real predictions. That's what I want out of it, though. I want those things to change. I'm not a big fan of a lot of things that are happening right now. Like, the best thing was her and Bobby Newport. Leslie and Bobby Newport were good together. They were funny. He's a bumbling moron, though.
He might be even stupider than Andy.
He is stupider than Andy.
Oh, man, he's truly like, buddy, did you just, like, sniff paint thinner for a year and kill everything in your head? I don't know. Maybe. He's something. Played by Paul Rudd. I'm a fan of Paul Rudd.
I don't know anything else Paul Rudd has done or is in.
But he's done some recent TV show, or Netflix shows, I should say. But he's done a lot of things throughout the years. I think he's very funny. He shows up in a lot of things in, like, small parts. He was even, like, a character in, like, Friends in the last 2 seasons.
Well, Friends sucks, so it's not helping me think any better of Paul Rudd. He was good here. I thought that was funny. It worked as what it was, but he definitely didn't need to stay there.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I think you might see him again in the show, but, like, his major part is over. He works for the season. I like the, debate.
The debate's really good because his campaign manager woman is so confident that she's got this in the bag. And then Leslie comes in and is like, boom, pulled that out. And then he's like, that was great, Leslie. And he's like clapping and just like, and you see it on her face. She's just like, you did.
Idiot.
Why? This is impossible. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do at this point.
It's really funny. Brandy Max on the podium. Oh my god.
Brandy Max. Oh yeah, the porn star woman. Oh, that was weird. I don't think her scenes are good or she was necessary for anything.
It's funny that they bring her back because she's in one episode prior.
She's in the painting episode.
Yep.
Which is kind of the blight on that episode.
I really like. I love how she just keeps dragging Leslie as if she's like part of like the porn industry, and Leslie's like, no. She's always kind of flustered by it. Like, what are you saying? Don't misinterpret this. I always think that's really funny. Part of it, I just really like Leslie's reactions to it. I think they're really funny.
I mean, they're fine. I feel like it could have been better if Brandy Max was much more like sultry about it. But she's just kind of a dumb woman out of it.
Oh.
And if she was like sultry about it, I could see it. I could really, really be into that, like, that play of it. But it's not that. It's just kind of, you're a dumb woman.
She's something.
And that's whatever.
And then you got, like, the guy on stage that's, like, all about the guns. Like, we should have, what was it, like a vending machine for assault rifles?
Yeah,
and the one guy in the crowd's like, woo! And then Brandy Max also says her thing. And then he's back like, woo! Again, he's the only guy.
He's real excited about everything that's not the major candidate.
It's really funny.
Now, one of the other 3 candidates had to be the new candidate that Leslie got dropped from, those campaign people. So they picked a real doozy of a bad candidate somewhere in there.
Oh, yeah.
They were just forgotten is really what happened.
Yeah, they were forgotten because they show up to like that ice skating rink and to watch that kind of disaster happen, and then I don't think you see them again.
Well, I think they appear in City Hall or whatever, and they run into Leslie after she's relaunched her campaign.
Yeah, but isn't that?
Oh no, that'd be before. You're right. Yeah. You're right.
And then after that, I don't think they appear again. And it's kind of like, okay. I think they were just kind of forgotten. Or they just didn't have anything to do with them. They're like, I don't know, whatever. And they're not important characters, really, so.
I mean, they're not. They don't really matter.
I like the red carpet. They're all walking on your feet.
It's better, the basketball kid.
Yeah, he had a weird name.
He had what was his title? I just don't remember.
I don't know.
Because I wanted to call him Detlef Shrimp, and that's not.
Yeah, no.
That's the other weird kid. But yeah, no. It's just better because once he goes up there and he falls, and then they play the music, they're like, get on your feet. And I'm like, yes. Oh, that's too funny. That was a funny deal.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I like that moment. The kid up there, and she's like, well, this is just a disaster, isn't it? Because her cards are all messed up, and it's pretty good. I like that a lot. Tom's got the red carpet in his suit. I'm always walking on it.
That's so stupid, though.
It's stupid.
It's so...
It's stupid,
It's something
but it's
that makes
funny.
me hate Tom. It's something that definitely makes me hate Tom, is things like that.
I just think it's so funny. Because it's just so... It's so silly and so preposterous. Like, that clearly doesn't mean anything. He does his thing. It works for him.
It doesn't work for him because he's a bad character. So, I don't know what to tell you here. He sucks. He's not good. He should be better. I mean, in general, I feel like the show does a lot of things well. Like, I feel like the audio is fine most of the time. It's not great, except for like some moments that are notable like that. But the audio in and of itself is not really that great.
I don't even know if it's really... I never really noticed, like, background music.
Because there isn't any.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
It's the fascinating thing about it. I was really struck by that at first. And then I've come to decide that it works like 70% of the time. And there's a 30% of the time where I needed you to fill it and you didn't, and it's not good. But it does work a lot of the time. It's a surprisingly, interestingly, like, bold choice to me to just have nothing.
Yeah.
Ever. Unless you're in, like, the bar or something where it makes sense.
Yeah, like, they have music there would be music playing, or, like, we're having a concert for Little Sebastian who died, and here's this country song. That sounds like a real country song.
Oh, yeah, that was so good, too. That's really good, like, songwriting.
Thousand Candles in the Wind or whatever it is. What's better than... How many is it at first?
I think it's
50 or 5?
I think it's like one candle. I think it's like a candle to the wind. And then he's like, what's better than a candle to the wind?
1,000.
40 candles to the wind or whatever. Because she says like it needs to be like 40 times better or something.
Oh, yeah.
And his rationale there is, you know what's better?
Multiply it by 40.
40 times. Like, those are things where I go, Andy, you're an idiot. But at least your rationale all checks out there. Like, I can't argue that would be better by the exact amount you were supposed to provide.
That's really funny.
But, yeah, no, that song is undeniably a country song, and it's just so ridiculously good. It's so awful. Because I hated it. I was like, I listen to country all day, every day, I feel like. I just feel like it's incessant country music at work. and then guess what? Here's this country song, and I was like, oh my.
Yeah, I like that, though. It's a good touch. I really like it when shows in general can make their characters, if they're musician-esque characters, can actually get them up there and play and, like, do it well.
Yeah, Chris Pratt actually can sing surprisingly pretty alright.
Yeah.
Like, I was impressed.
Yeah, when he puts it on, he can put it on. I think Chris Pratt's a pretty talented actor. I think he's pretty cool That's the
only thing I've seen him in.
Yeah. I mean, this is what blew up his career. This is what made him big. So there's going to be a moment where he'll actually be away out of the show for a little while because he was doing Guardians of the Galaxy for Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
And that helped boost his career. And now he's pretty big. Although there's some controversy around him these days because he's like Christian. I don't remember if he's Catholic or Protestant. I don't remember.
He's Eastern Orthodoxy. I've decided for him. Eastern Orthodoxy. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what he is, but like he goes to a church that's had some bad reputation before, and so he's got some bad rap. And there's like this thing where like the big like 4 famous Chris's from like Marvel are all kind of compared, and like he's voted like the worst one because of these things. And he kind of just rolls with the punches pretty well. He's also like married to like Arnold Schwarzenegger's daughter.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay, that's weird.
Just some random things.
Good old Chris Pratt, I guess.
Yeah. Strange guy. But, good for him. I think he does a really good job with his role.
You know, I mean, it's all acted well.
Yeah.
I don't know that anyone's like a bad actor except Mark over there.
Yeah. And I feel like Mark, maybe he's not a bad actor, but maybe he just wasn't trying. Because I felt like he could be good. Maybe he had poor direction for his character.
There's any number of things that could have been the problem, but that was not well acted.
Yeah, it's a weird scenario.
Sometimes their cuts are really weird in this show, and sometimes I feel like the interview things are good, and sometimes I just feel like they're really stupid and didn't need to be there and didn't add anything to this scene.
I really like the mockumentary format. And admittedly, the only two shows I have watched with it are The Office and Parks and Rec. And The Office, I think, popularized it. I don't think it originated it, though. And I want to say there's some others. I think, like, Trailer Park Boys is supposed to be like that, but I don't actually know. I haven't seen that show.
I don't know what that is.
It's a Canadian show.
It's bad.
I like the interview format. I think it's fun. I like that there's no laugh track in the show. The humor, if you like it or not, like it relies upon itself to get its reaction. And sometimes I think the show has some weird moments that I don't think are funny. Case in point being the episode where Leslie is trying to run the office and her campaign and everything. Ron's like, no, stop. And he's like, you've had a sucker stuck on your sweater for like several days. And I'm like, how is that feasible? Nobody has told her in several days, hey, person running for congresswoman, you have a sucker stuck on your sweater.
I'm glad that you brought that up as like a negative, because I thought that whole exchange was really funny, including that.
Really?
Yeah, I thought that it didn't matter to me that it didn't make the greatest amount of sense. I thought it was funny.
Oh man, that's one of the examples that I point to of being weird with not making sense, of like several days. Like if it had been like, you've had that on you all day. Okay, I can believe that. But several days you've worn this sweater and nobody's pointed this out to you. Okay.
Her justification of it makes it better. Like, that's what all the cool kids are doing, Ron. You don't know anything, Ron. She switches like to different facets of her character very well.
Yeah, she's a very talented actress, I think.
In this series, at least, I don't know her name.
I don't know if I've seen her in anything else. I know I've seen that she is in other things. Like, I know she's been on, like, Saturday Night Live, and...
That's not very good humor, most of the time.
Sometimes I agree. I'm not, like, really a fan of it, but I know she's been on it. And I've seen her in some bigger movies, but I don't really know. I haven't seen anything else with her, really.
I mean, I guess we've covered it. You got anything else you want to add to this?
No, I think this is a good start. It's a good part one.
It's a good part one. It's been a pleasure. If you enjoyed it, like, comment, subscribe. Tell your mother. Share it with all your friends.
Don't tell your father, though.
Not him.
No, he's a bad guy.
Next episode, you could tell your father.
You could tell him that one.
Not this episode, though.
But don't tell your mother about that, the first or the second one.
Mm-mm. Not happening.
That'd be weird.
All right. Well, I'm giving this a 6 out of 10 for the first 4 seasons.
For the first 4 seasons, I'm going to give it an 8. Have at us.